Michael Vanderpool asked, how do you know if you're listening to a movie at reference level? Different sources all have different levels. Michael, I love this question because I get asked about what is reference. How do I tell if I'm at reference level or reference volume when watching a movie quite often here on the channel? The first thing we need to do is define what is reference volume. And so when we measure sound, we use an SPL meter or a sound pressure level meter to determine how loud that is. So when somebody is making a movie, when a producer and a mixer, when they're mastering a movie, they all kind of use the same standard. They want to master it to where that movie can be played back at reference volume. So reference volume is basically a range from 75 dB with peaks up to 105 dB. So on average, when you're watching a movie, you're going to be listening about 85 dB, which isn't super loud. Now that's the volume for your main speakers, your surround speakers, and your Atmos speakers or height speakers. But your subwoofer channel or your LFE, low frequency effects channel, that's going to be about 10 decibels hotter. So those are going to be calibrated from 85 decibels with peaks up to 115 decibel. So the easiest way to do this is if your AVR or processor has like an auto calibration system. So that's where you would place a microphone that comes with your AVR in your main listening position. You're going to run through the test tones and it's going to dial in each one of your speakers, your front, your center, your surrounds, all of those speakers. It's going to adjust the trim levels so that they meet that standard, that 75 to 105 dB peaks. And so once you've run that auto calibration, if you're not familiar with how to do that, I've got a tutorial on using Audyssey XT32. I'll leave a link to it right up here in the card above as well as in the description below. It'll kind of walk you through step by step on how to do that if you're not familiar with that. But once you've run auto calibration, your system is dialed in for reference volume. Now what you need to do is make sure that when you adjust the volume on your AVR or on your processor, it shows you in a relative scale. So the way that you'll know if it's set to relative or absolute is when you adjust your volume, if you see numbers like 0, if you turn it all the way down up to say 99 or 100, when you turn it all the way up, that's an absolute number, 0 to 100. And so we want to change that to a relative scale. And basically we're changing it relative to reference. And so I'm going to walk you through on my AVR or my processor how to change that. If you've got a Denon or Marantz, you'll have the same menu structure, so it'll be really easy to follow. If you have like a Pioneer or a Yamaha or an Emotiva or a Trinnov, it's going to be a little bit different. And it may already be set up this way, and so you don't have to change anything. But if by default your AVR or processor has your volume scale set to an absolute measurement, 0 to 99, I'm going to show you how to change that in there now. The way you check to see if your receiver is set up to absolute or relative volume is just by adjusting the volume. You can see this is in all positive numbers. We went from like 83, and if we go all the way down to the bottom, you'll see it's at 0. So that's set to absolute volume. We want to switch that to relative. And the way that we do that is we go into the setup menu. If you have a Denon or Marantz AVR or processor, your menu should look very similar to this. We're going to go into audio, come down to volume, and here you can see it's set to absolute. It's 0 to 98 scale. So we're going to click OK, hit to the left, and now it's set to negative 79.5 dB up to positive 18 dB. So now the AVR's volume is set relative to reference. So now if we come back out of the setup menu and we adjust our volume, you'll see we're on a relative scale. We're in the negatives right now. So this is, if I were to go up to say negative 15, we're 15 dB, 15 decibels lower than reference volume. So now that you've got your AVR or processor set up to an absolute scale, when you're watching a movie, when you turn the volume up and it says 0 dB, that is now set to reference volume. You'll know that when you're watching a movie, you're going to be listening to 75 dB with peaks up to 105 dB for your main channels and surround and Atmos channels. And you're going to be listening to 85 dB up to 115 dB in your LFE, like your subwoofer channels and those lower frequencies. And the biggest reason why there's a difference there is our ears hear mid-range and high frequencies different than we perceive bass frequencies. So we have to increase the bass frequencies for our ears and our perception to hear that basically as a balanced system. Now, I personally listen to movies usually about -10 dB. So basically, again, when you're thinking about reference, what that tells us is I prefer to watch movies about 10 decibels lower than reference. And that's totally cool. You don't have to listen to a movie and watch a movie at reference volume all the time. That's totally up to you. But by calibrating your system for reference and then setting your volume to a relative scale based on reference, you'll know exactly when you turn up the volume where you're at relative to reference level. If you found this video helpful for setting up your home theater, be sure to like and subscribe because I've got tons of other content that'll help you take your home theater to the next level. Be sure to check out this video where you can have an opportunity to win up to $30,000 in giveaways. And as always, you guys be blessed and we will catch you in the next video.